Good evening and welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Joanne Boyd and I am the President-elect for Pittsburgh Black Nurses in Action. And on behalf of Dr. Lisa Isaac, President of Gateway Medical Society, I'd like to welcome you to our part 5 of a 6-part series on education for the caregiver of family members and loved ones with dementia. A little bit about Gateway Medical Society. It was established in 1963 as a component of the National Medical Association. The mission for Gateway Medical Society, as well as the mission for the National Medical Society, is to eradicate disparities in healthcare. Today's webinar is part 5 of a 6-part series that has been very informative with a lot of excellent information to help our caregivers as they face the challenges of caring for their loved ones with dementia. Tonight's facilitator is Michelle Carter, who has been in the field of nursing for over 25 years. Michelle graduated from community college with her nursing degree and then went on to attend California University for her bachelor's in nursing, and then finally on to Aspen University for her master's degree in nursing administration and management. She is an experienced long-term director at a dementia center, the nursing at Oakmont. She's been there for the past 5 years. She's received several certifications. She's a certified dementia practitioner and a certified director of long-term care. Michelle is also a member of Pittsburgh Black Nurses in Action, where she serves on our board of directors, and she is our historian. She is also a member of the Pennsylvania Director of Nursing Administration and also the National Black Nurses Administration. She serves on several committees, including our outreach committee, and she co-chairs our Talk About It Tuesdays, an informative session for members who are interested or persons who are interested in joining our organization. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Michelle as she facilitates tonight's webinar.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Boyd. Thank you so much for that great introduction. I just would like to welcome everybody to our 5th series in our 6-part series for dementia family caregiver education. Before we get started, I just want to go over some housekeeping rules. As we go through our presentation today, you will be able to put your questions in the Q&A session, and you also will be on mute. We'll go over questions at the end of the presentations. So let's get started. Let me tell you a little bit about the goal for Dementia 360. The program is to be an all-inclusive that has recognized opportunities to reach the underserved population, and the ability to help with education, coaching, and strategies to improve the life of both the dementia patient and the family caregiver. Tonight we have 2 of our presenters. Our first presenter we're going to introduce is Stacy Stahl. Stacy Stahl is the educator for Dementia 360. She has her master's degree in education, and she's also a certified dementia practitioner. When Stacy was in college, her maternal grandmother, Emma, developed dementia and moved in with the family. Stacy watched her mother struggle to care for Emma while she was still working full-time, running a household and raising her own children. Stacy knew well the toll that brought physically and emotionally on her family, caring for someone with dementia. 37 years later, Stacy found herself helping others to care for 37 years later, she found herself caring for her own mother that had dementia. After retiring from a 30-year career in medical and behavioral health research, Stacy reached out to Dementia 360. She wanted to help support many people who find themselves caring for loved ones living with dementia. Working first as a volunteer, now she's our educator for the program. Stacy has found her post-retirement mission where she can apply her expertise, experience as a researcher and an educator, and continue to learn and satisfy her desire to help other families in their journey with dementia care. Our next presenter is Amy Kowalski, and she's a registered dietitian and a certified dementia practitioner. Amy is the executive director of Dementia 360. Amy has many years of professional experiences in many different areas of healthcare. She has worked in gerontology, dementia care, healthcare quality improvement, and nutrition. She has led and been part of task force to redesign work processes, improving outcomes, patient safety and satisfaction in hospitals and long-term care, and also with interdisciplinary groups. However, when Stacy and her mother became the caregivers of her grandmother, who was living with them with dementia, Amy realized that there was very little support in our healthcare system for people living with dementia and for their family caregivers who were on the front lines providing this care for their loved ones. She changed her career, devoting herself to improving the quality of care and the quality of life for people living with dementia and their family caregivers. She is now the executive director of Dementia 360, and the program supports family caregivers and people living with dementia through education, coaching, and by helping them navigate their journey through this disease. I'm going to turn this over to Amy, and she'll start our presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our presentation. Okay, so tonight's presentation is called Creating a Safe and Dementia-Friendly Home, and also How to Prevent Wandering. As was already stated tonight, this is the 5th part of a 6-part series. You can see what all of the topics so far have been, and you can see our topic next week is about what you can do to help keep them healthy and out of the hospital. These have occurred every other Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Each one of these has been on a different topic, and all of these together we consider to be some of the very most important information that we feel like all family caregivers to people living with dementia need to know the very most. If this is your first week tuning in, or maybe you missed a few of the sessions, the good news is they are all being recorded, and they will become available on the Gateway Medical Society website at gatewaymedicalsociety.org. When you get there, to get to the recordings, you'll click on News and Events, then select Latest News from the drop-down, and look for the icon pictured below and click on the hyperlink entitled Gateway Medical Society Virtual Symposium Recordings. And they will all sit there for you to be able to listen to at your leisure.
Hey, Amy, you might want to move the slides forward too.
Oh, they're not moving.
No.
Okay.
Whoops. On the first slide.
It's still on the first slide.
Is that what you're seeing, Michelle?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you start the slideshow? Maybe
having a bit of a tech problem. Okay. Can you see dementia coaching?
No. Now I just see presenters.
Okay.
Technology, don't we love it?
Ah, there we go. Now we see the coaching. You're good.
Okay. Okay, so on the off weeks from the presentations, we are also offering 30-minute coaching sessions on Wednesdays from 7 in the morning until 5 p.m. So whether you are a morning person, an afternoon person, or an evening person, hopefully there is a slot that will work for you. And so the way that it's intended to work is that these webinars will help you get kind of the educational information that you need. And then if you are struggling with something at home, whether it to be on how to apply what you learned from the webinar or any other kind of caregiving challenge that can occur in dementia, you can feel free to give us a call, and we'll have one of our dementia experts available to be able to talk you through it to come up with a few strategies that you could try. So to do that, the phone number is listed on the slide. And the next coaching session will be next Wednesday on the 15th, and then there will be another one on the 29th. And we also wanted to let you know we are going to be mailing out a workbook that will give you all of the information from all of the 6 sessions, because we hope that this information will be helpful to you and you can refer back to it in the future. And we also would like to be able to learn from you, the caregivers, about what you are experiencing and about whether this series has been helpful to you. And so to do this, we'd like to ask you to fill out a short survey at the start of the series, and then again at the end, that asks you a few questions about your caregiving journey and the series. And you know, if you would like to be entered into a raffle to win a Target gift card, go ahead and put your name and contact information on the survey so we can contact you if you win. We'll go ahead and put a link to that survey in the chat at the end of the presentation tonight, and then we'll also send it to you with the workbook. So now it is time to get into the presentation and talk about how to create a safe and dementia-friendly home for somebody living with dementia. And so before we talk about home safety, what we really want you to understand tonight is that your family member with dementia's vision is changing. There are actually unique changes that happen with dementia that impact vision, that are above and beyond regular age-related vision changes that happens. So first, I'm going to ask you to do a little demonstration with me. So cup your hands on the side of your head, on the side of your eyes like this, and look around. So this is what the field of vision of somebody with moderate dementia. You can see that they really can't see things here out on the side. And now I want to ask you to actually pretend you're make binoculars over your eyes. This is what someone with late stage dementia sees. So dementia actually causes tunnel vision. You can see how it would be really hard to be able to see what is around you when this is really all you can see. So, you know, if you are living with someone with late stage dementia, you may actually see them start to look down all the time when they are walking. And this so that they can see where they're going. This is due to their tunnel vision. So first, it causes tunnel vision. Second, it also causes issues with depth perception because of how the brain is changing. And so what this means is it gets really hard to see where one surface ends and another one begins. And also objects that are similar in color start to blend together. So when you think of those two changes, think about how that could make getting around in life more difficult. Think about trying to, you know, come out of Giant Eagle on a sunny day and try to see where the end of the curb is and where the road starts. Or think about trying to go up and down stairs if you had trouble seeing where one surface ended and another began when you start to lose your depth perception. So it's important to kind of understand that we can't change these dementia-related vision changes, and even the doctor can't fix them. But what is really important to know is that you can make changes in the house that will make it safer for them to be able to move around. And so that's what we're really talking about today. And so we'll talk about some different rooms of the house, different parts of the house, and what you can do. So first we'll talk about floors and walkways. So for tunnel vision, what becomes really important to do is get rid of the clutter. So move anything that is in their path, anything that they could fall over, because again, they might not see it because it's out of their field of view. You know, if you have clutter in the way, or maybe you have like a low coffee table in their walking path, these are some things that you would want to move. Some other things, you know, think about making sure that you either take the rugs off of the floor or make sure that they are actually secured to the floor. And if you have, wires or cords from lamps, you probably really want to make sure that they are secured to the wall and not out in that person's walking path. And for depth perception, so again, if they have a hard time seeing where one surface ends and another one begins, a great tool that you can use is to start to add some color to start to make things stand out. So if you have, say you have 2 rooms in your house and one has carpet and the other is hardwood floors, and there's one of those kind of transition pieces of wood there. We have one in our house and it sticks up a lot. But to someone with dementia who may not be able to see that because it blends in, we have to figure out how to make that stand out. So, a great kind of cheap and easy thing that you can do, they actually do make various colors of duct tape. So getting brightly colored, green or red duct tape, anything that's really a contrasting color from what the floor is, and putting that over the transition helps to really make it stand out to that person's eyes. And speaking of colors and floors, try as much as you can to have kind of calm and neutral colors on the floor and avoid really busy patterns. So, if you look at that square on the left, and I mean, that looks like that could be maybe a carpet in a hotel room. That would be really difficult actually for a person with dementia to be able to process. They might actually look at that as if the floor has holes in it. So as much as possible, when you have control over it, avoid these kinds of patterns, particularly on the floor in your house. There are also ways to use color contrast to your advantage. For instance, if you are having trouble with your family member, either maybe like going up to the front door constantly and you're worrying that maybe they're going to go out, one thing that you can do is actually put a black doormat in front of the door. They may actually perceive that as a hole, and it will keep them from actually going up to the door. Now we're going to talk about how to make the steps safer. And so think about both your steps that are indoors and your steps that are outdoors. And again, first, because of the tunnel vision, make sure that you remove all objects. Some of us tend to keep piles of things on the stairs to remind others to take them up when they go up or down when they go down. When you are living with someone with dementia, you want to make sure that you remove those piles, remove, kind of the shoes in front of the steps or anything, laundry, things like that. And make sure that the carpet is secure. For depth perception, first, you want to make sure that there is definitely enough light over the steps. If there isn't enough light, another kind of cheap and easy thing that you can do is go and buy those motion sensor lights. A lot of times they come in a 5-pack or so, and they work with batteries, and you can just stick them on the wall. No tools needed. And if you are changing light bulbs, really the best light bulbs to use are the CFL or LED ones, because they actually provide 4 to 6 times more light than regular light bulbs. And another thing you want to think about with steps is making sure that you have at least one handrail and that it is secure to the wall. The most ideal thing is actually to have not one, but 2 handrails, so that if a person does have like some lower body weakness, they can actually use both arms, and their legs to help them get safely up the steps. And so this is a big one that I alluded to earlier. Because of the depth perception, can be really hard to see where one step ends and another one begins. So you can see in that picture, you can see in that picture there, someone added a yellow piece of tape, and that says to the brain, this is the edge of the steps. that can really help to improve safety on the steps for a person living with dementia. And one other word of wisdom about steps: if you do have the steps that have like holes, or the ones that don't have the backs on them, that also visually is really, really hard and scary for a person with dementia. If there is a way to fix those, to be able to put backs on them, great. And if not, and it is a possibility to be able to kind of block those off from the person living with dementia, that is probably a good idea to do that. Now we are going to talk about the kitchen. There is so much that can be done in the kitchen to make things both safer and easier for the person with dementia to be able to move around the house and be as independent as possible. First, let's talk about storage. So the general rule is, if you would like them to see something, either because they need to use it all the time or because you want them to be reminded of it, make sure that you put these items out in front of them. And, on the flip side, if you don't want them to use something, or you would rather them not be into something, or something is not safe for them to be using independently, you really want to put it out of sight. And you've heard the adage, out of sight, out of mind. That is also particularly true in dementia. So, items that you want to leave out, you might want to leave things on the counter. You don't want the counter to be totally cluttered, but, having a few frequently used things, or a few things that you want them to see on there, will make them more likely to be able to find it and be able to use it. We recommend to a lot of families, when a person with dementia may be forgetting to eat or isn't eating enough, make sure that that food is out, that the shelf-stable food is out where they can see it. So in some ways, when they walk past, the food reminds them to eat instead of you being the one reminding them to eat. So we'll suggest to a lot of families to put some snacks in either see-through containers or in bowls out, kind of where they spend a lot of time, rather than, tucked away behind cabinets or shelves. Put things on easy to reach shelves. This is a good time to actually look at what you have where, and if it's something that you would want them to be able to reach, make sure, that they're on the low shelves and not the high shelves. At the same time, if you do have high shelves, it would probably be a good idea to take the step stool and also get that out of sight, out of mind. Another thing that can be really helpful in being able to continually find things and be helpful in the kitchen is to actually consider putting labels on the cabinets with either pictures or the name of what's in them. People like to be helpful. So, while a person may like to help unload the dishwasher, if they're not sure where they should put the forks or the plates afterwards, they'll probably shy away from doing that. So to be able to help keep them doing that for longer, labels can be really helpful. And again, put items they shouldn't use out of sight. So, if they are using the stove, provide supervision, and when you're not there or they really shouldn't be using it, put knob covers on the stove, or a lot of stoves you can actually take the knobs off. For the oven and for the microwave, there's a device called Fire Avert that if it will automatically shut off the stove or the microwave and send a notification when the smoke alarm sounds to prevent fires. And you also want to make sure that you add light in the kitchen also. So using maximum wattage and light fixtures, adding the under cabinet like stick-on lighting can be really helpful also. And now we will talk about the bedroom. So in the bedroom, like every other room, you want to check on to make sure that there's lights. So make sure that you have a light that is near the bed. Sometimes the motion sensor night lights work really well for people. You don't want to have a light really that a person has to reach for, that could cause a fall out of bed. Second, the bedroom is a great place to do some simplifying in terms of what is in the closets and drawers. We work with a lot of families that, get really upset at their husband when he comes out, in the summer with winter clothes, or vice versa. He can't help it. But what you can do is make sure that in the summer you take out the winter clothes, and in the winter you take out the summer clothes. So when you say, honey, go back and get dressed, he can pick from a variety of season appropriate clothes. Make the favorite clothes, or the clothes that you would like the person to wear, easy to find. This also goes for, the clean clothes. Sometimes a person might have trouble with, kind of being resistant to change outfits. So make sure that, if they take their clothes off and go into the bathroom, that you grab those dirty clothes and have the clean ones out in eyesight where they can find it. And the same goes with labeling drawers, with the contents of what's in there, again, using pictures, or the words, can help people be able to find what they need and be as independent as possible for as long as possible. As for the bed, you want to make sure it's a good height. A lot of times, beds are really high off the ground, and some of them have super high mattresses. The right height of a bed is like when you look at this man in the picture here, he's sitting there and his knees are at a right angle and his feet are on the ground. And do watch for challenges with getting in and out of bed or sliding out of bed. If you see those, there are actually a lot of products that can help. Okay, now we are going to talk about the bathroom. This is such a beautiful picture of what not to do, but I bet a lot of you either have a bathroom like this or definitely have been in bathrooms that kind of look like that. If we say that it becomes difficult for a person with dementia to be able to see where one surface ends and another one begins, what's wrong with this picture? So, first, when you look at it, what is the only thing you see that stands out in this bathroom? It's the green plant. That would be great if the green plant was helpful to, hygiene or showering or getting ready in the morning, but it really isn't. You can see, the white toilet blends in with the white wall, and the white sink, is the same color as the white toilet. If you really do want to make sure that you add some contrast, particularly around the toilet. They actually do have colored toilet seats to help make it easier for that person to find the toilet. You definitely, for some people, they may actually struggle with what is the sink and what is the toilet. So adding contrast there could be good also. You can also see here that the white towels blend right in with the white walls. When you look in front of the shower, there's that raised lip there that, it's also white. So the person probably won't see that and would be at a higher risk to be able to fall over it there. So, definitely we would recommend adding a colored toilet seat or at least a colored mat around the toilet. Put maybe a piece of colored tape on the step up into the shower. Maybe put some color on the drawer handles so they can find those. Use some colored towels. You could even put a colored towel over the bathtub here to make it stand out also. So you can really see how adding color and using contrast can be a tool for both safety and helping a person be able to navigate their environment. And so a few other things about the bathroom. Have you heard that actually most falls in the house do happen in the bathroom? So in addition to adding color to make things out, there are other additional things that you should think about to be able to reduce the risk of falls. So first, making sure that the bottom of the shower or tub has non-skid treads, or putting a non-slip shower mat in the shower or bathtub can also help to make it safe and less slippery. Putting some grab bars in, whether you use the permanent ones, but there's also the suction cup grab bars. Put those at the entrance to the shower or tub. Maybe one where they could hold on to it if they were standing in the shower or tub, and at least one located next to the toilet. If a person really has to reach for the towel when they get out of the shower, that could also cause a fall. So making sure that the towel rack, or maybe putting one of those little hooks really close reach of the shower or tub, would make it safer also. If people are unsteady on their feet or have balance problems, a shower chair could be really helpful to improve safety. Because showers tend to be white and shower chairs tend to be white, we would also encourage you to put a colored towel on there so they can see when they go to sit down. Another thing to consider is getting a raised toilet seat. Works kind of the same way as the bed. Sometimes, too low is not good, too high is not good. Generally, the traditional toilet seats are low. You can get a new toilet, or you can get a raised toilet seat that will raise the sitting position up by several inches. And a few other considerations. Again, add light. Make sure the bulbs are the maximum wattage. If your family member does tend to get up to use the bathroom at night, you may actually want to leave the bathroom light on for them altogether, so that when they open their eyes and they get up, that they know right where to go. Same thing, simplify what's in the bathroom. If you want to make sure that they brush their teeth, make sure the toothbrush and the toothpaste is out on the counter, and also think about what should be put away. So for example, when it is not time to take medicines, the medicines should be out of sight, out of mind. And also, to prevent burns, you can also turn down the water temperature to 120 or 130 on your hot water tank. And just a few other comments, just kind of general lifestyle safety things. There are a lot of appliances out there that actually have auto shut-off features to be able to make things safer. So things like irons, things like curling irons, that if the person leaves them plugged in and on, they'll turn themselves off. Same thing with coffee makers, or electric tea kettles have automatic shutoffs. You may have to look for these in the stores, but they definitely exist, and they definitely can make a safer environment. Make sure, again, that you do supervise them when it is time to take their medicine, and when it is not time to take their medicine, keep the medicine out of sight. You definitely want to keep cleaning products in a locked area. Things like bleach, toilet bowl cleaner, oven cleaner, put them in a closed cabinet out of the way. Other things to really think about, whether it might be time to keep them locked up, or things like dish soap and laundry soap. We actually have had families who've had their family member actually ingest these things thinking that they were fruity drinks. Again, because of the vision changes, it's harder for them to see what's in front of them. They can't change that, but you can definitely do things to make it safer for them. Other things, if they are doing laundry, one of the things that, sometimes I forget to do too, is to empty that lint trap in the dryer. So, if you go over there every so often, it would be a good idea as you're doing kind of a sweep through the house, just to go through and make sure you empty that lint trap. And, you know, if they are not to be driving, make sure that car keys are out of sight in a place where they can't get to them. So I hope that you found some strategies here, ways that you can kind of shore up your house to be safer. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and Stacy is going to talk about another aspect of safety, and that is how to prevent wandering.
Thank you, Amy. I hope you can hear me. I can't see myself, and give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay.
We hear you.
Okay, thanks. So tonight I'm going to talk about wandering, and because it is one of the most dangerous and scariest issues that is associated with dementia. So many people think that wandering doesn't happen until later in the progress of dementia, but really it can happen at any time throughout the disease. Sadly, we've heard from many of our families that weren't ready for this and were taken completely by surprise when their family member wandered away from the home. Here are a few facts about wandering. Wandering can happen at any time, like I said, during the disease. 6 out of 10 people living with dementia will wander. A person who has wandered once is at higher risk for doing it again. Most of the time, there are warning signs and triggers for wandering. The best time to take steps to prevent wandering is before it ever happens. So please, please, please do not say, we're not there yet, because it's never happened. You don't want to wait for it to happen. All it takes is one time. Okay, Amy, you could switch the slide. So what is wandering? We are all know that walking or exploring one's environment is considered to be healthy and stimulating, good for the sleep-wake cycles, and great exercise for anyone. But walking becomes wandering when the person leaves the safe environment for one that's unfamiliar and unsafe, or the caregiver's not aware that they're gone and doesn't know where they are. So there are a few things you can do as a caregiver. You can recognize the warning signs of wandering in your family member, and then put those interventions in place to prevent wandering from happening. Okay, Amy, ready for the next slide? If I had to pick 2 of the biggest reasons for wandering, I would say boredom, restlessness, and being frustrated or angry with their caregiver. If you think about what your family member does during the day, if the answer is not much of anything, there's a good chance that eventually they'll be restless and unable to sit still. They'll need to move, to see some new surroundings, to find more stimulation, and to find something to do. So being angry or frustrated with you is another big reason. So think about your communication. We've talked about this quite at length in this series. Could you be coming across to them as bossy? So don't go out the front door there, or you just sit in the chair and watch TV. You could actually be a trigger for their wanting to leave that house. Some people might be at higher risk when they are looking for someone. I have to find my mom. I need to go home. These are some of the warning signs. Again, what matters next is what you do when they tell you they need to go home. Does what you do or say to them, does that comforting to them? Do they settle down? Or does it get them frustrated with you and raise the risk of wanting to get away even more? Finally, if they don't recognize home as home, maybe you're away for the weekend and they wake up and they don't recognize where they are, this could also be a trigger for a wandering episode. Okay, Amy, you can change this slide. When we think of wander prevention, it's kind of a twofold approach. It's behavioral interventions combined with devices to safeguard them in the house that they live in. Usually a combination of these interventions is the best. So when you think about boredom, we want to keep them involved in activities throughout the day, keep them busy. We always say that, if you want them to get into trouble, don't give them anything to do and they'll find a way to get into trouble. So restlessness, make sure that, your family gets exercise every day to use up that restless energy. And if you know when they are apt to get restless, if there's a certain time of day, make sure that they have things to do before that time each day so that they can be more involved and distracted. Conflicts or needing to get away from you, work on improving your approach and your communication skills and how you talk with them. You want them to be comfortable with you and feel comforted. Wanting to go home, provide comfort and reassurance, and something else to do. Again, distraction from what they're when they're concerned about those things. Please don't tell them that they are home. This is one of the key things that can really pique their frustration level and hurt their feelings. So they know that they're not home for whatever reason. So don't go into that area. If they're looking for you, if they need to have you in their sight, then we recommend that you don't let them alone. Find somebody who can be there whenever you need to go out so that there's always somebody for them to turn to. Maybe they're having trouble finding the bathroom. That's often the case. So you want to try to put signs on the bathroom door and leave lights on at night so that they can have an easier time finding it. Sometimes it's just generally feeling disoriented. So you want to check their basic needs. Do they need to use the bathroom? Could they be hungry or thirsty? Are they looking for a snack or something? They get lost trying to find the kitchen. So try and take care of those things ahead of time. Also, increase the lighting in a shadowy house that feels unfamiliar or scary to them. And then the couple of the things that we've mentioned before, put big stop sign on the front door or make the door less obvious. If you make it the same color as the walls, so it'll blend in, or as Amy mentioned, like a mat in front of the black mat in front of the door will also discourage them from going out that front door. Okay, next we're going to talk about some devices that you can use in your home. You can switch the slide, thanks. There are several devices out there that can help to either prevent a person from leaving or alert you when they open that front door. Like anything else, they range in price and technology from cheap and easy to super high-end, high-tech based on what your needs are. To prevent a person from going out the front door, you can try the door wedge, which is up there in the left-hand corner. They also come with alarms too, so that if they hit that when they're trying to open the door, that'll alert you. Next, there's the double deadbolt. That way you have to have a key to get out and you can hide the key from them. You could also try a stop sign. Like I mentioned, there's something about that, we're all programmed to see that stop sign and stop. So if you put it right at eye level, people who see the stop sign generally won't go around it. Or a black mat, like in the upper middle. That causes the depth perception problems that a person living with dementia may very well think it's a hole and not go near that door. They don't want to step on that. You can disguise the door. This bookshelf sticker up in the right-hand corner makes it look like it's a bookshelf, so they wouldn't even think to go out that. You can, again, paint it to blend in. You can also put, if you use some form to alert you that they're going out the door, that can be very useful too. Anytime the door is open, something as simple as bells hanging on the door, you hear the bells and you know that somebody's at the door. You can use a door alarm. The best bet is this one, you want to put the door alarm up high so that they can't mess with it, and you'll hear it go off. And then there's also a camera that can alert you on your cell phone whenever somebody opens the door. Those are all very useful devices, and combined with the behavioral strategies, they can prevent some wandering. Okay, here are a few take-home points for you. If you could pay attention to the fact that wandering can happen at any point in the disease. Once that you can identify your family members' causes or triggers or warning signs for wandering, you can implement steps to prevent wandering from happening. And the best way to prevent wandering strategies is to make sure that you have them in place one day early rather than one day late. And next, we're going to be ready to take some questions from you if you have anything for us, but I wanted to give you a couple of reminders. Please consider calling in for a 30-minute coaching session with our dementia experts this coming Wednesday. That's the 15th from 7 in the morning until 5. You can call 412-435-8950. We're always happy to help. Please bring us any questions or issues that you come across. You can register and attend our final webinar, which will be in 2 weeks, and that will be on what you can do to keep them healthy and out of the hospital. And if you haven't taken our survey, please take the survey. We'll post it in the chat and also send it to you in a paper form at home. So I'm going to switch it back to Michelle now to bring us a couple of questions.
Thank you so much, Stacy and Amy. For all our viewers, I did post the coaching number in the chat and also the link for the survey. So we do have a couple questions. One of the questions is, you mentioned Stacy, not to tell the person with dementia that they're home when they're trying to wander. Can you elaborate a little bit more why we wouldn't tell them that they're home to try to calm them down?
Sometimes that just is confusing to them because they are feeling something that even though, it might be their home, it's more about what they're feeling than an actual location. We've had people that have driven their wives to the end of the driveway, shown them the mailbox and said, look, you've lived here for 50 years. This is your home. But that's not what they're saying. What they're saying in that moment is that they don't feel comfortable. They're afraid. They feel something's unfamiliar. They want some reassurance and some comfort from the family. And the more you can provide that for them, the better. It will just, be helpful in comforting them and make them feel that they're more at home.
Thank you so much. That
Sure.
was really great information. When you do here's another question. What do you do when someone with dementia starts wandering? Give us some more ideas of what we can do when they start wandering.
Well, like we said, once they start to wander, it happens more often. It raises the risk of wandering. There are tracking devices that you can get for your loved one if they will wear, so a lot of times with a watch. I know the Apple Watch has the ability to tell you when people, where they've gone. You can follow them if you can get them to wear that. There are other things you can put inside their shoes or on their belts, things like that can help. You want to alert your neighbors. You want to alert, maybe, you live in a small town, you can alert the police or the the safety officials to let them know that they're a wandering risk, just to bring in as much of the community as possible so that people are aware. And then, you can try all the behavioral strategies that we have talked about before. Usually that's a pretty good, between the combination of the devices and the technology and the behavioral modification, and then, pulling your community together. It can be very helpful.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Amy, this question's for you. Why is the environment so important for people with dementia?
I mean, the environment really like makes it or breaks it. I mean, I think, in this entire series is about helping families to understand that what you cannot change is the person living with dementia. What you can change as the caregiver is either your approach or the environment living around them. And when you change those two things, the person living with dementia does a lot better. So making changes to the environment, not only can help to promote safety and prevent falls, but it also, you can create an environment where the person with dementia can thrive. If they can move through and they can find, where do I put these things when I unload the dishwasher? Or, you as the caregiver say, hey, can you help me set the table? And they can find the fork, knife, and spoon to be able to do that successfully, so they feel good instead of frustrated. I mean, they're small things, but those, like many small things, add up to being one big thing for that person with dementia. And it's, helping them feel better about themselves and helping them live the best life that they can. And when they feel good, you'll feel good too.
Thank you so much. We have another question. This is a comment and a question. The participator said, great job, ladies, and thank you so much for the information that you're giving. How is dementia different from Alzheimer's disease?
That is a great question, and one that people ask so often. So dementia is, if you think about it like an umbrella, so dementia is the overarching name for a group of diseases. There are actually somewhere between, depending on who you talk to, between 100 and 200 different types of dementia, and Alzheimer's is just one of those types. It happens to be the very most common type. And so a lot of people use those words interchangeably. And while they are related, they're not exactly the same. So you could say every person with Alzheimer's has dementia, but not every person with dementia has Alzheimer's.
Thank you. Another comment, we're going to go to one comment and maybe one or two more questions. Another comment is, this person was talking about when we're asked when the patient wants to go home, when the dementia patient wants to go home. When they say they want to go home, sometimes they are meaning back to the past, good times for their life. And I think that counterpoints to what you were saying also, Stacy, about them having to want that comfort. That might have been a comfortable time in our lives.
Yeah, a time that they can't get to because they have lost so much of their memory, but they know that they're not where they want to be. They want to be back. And that's really an astute observation on the part of that person who wrote in. That's very helpful. Thank you.
For one of our last questions, are there specific items for the home that can help them stay orientated to the day and time and keeping them more engaged?
Sure, there definitely are. And I would say sometimes, at certain parts in the disease, like those items to help to reorient a person will work. And sometimes they don't work. So, some people do well with one of those clocks that has the time, the date, the day of the week, and then the sun or the moon, so you can see if it's day or night. That works for some. Another thing that can work for some is having like a calendar of what the upcoming events are. And that is highly individual as to whether we would even recommend the calendar for some. Because for some people, like that works very well, and they'll go to the calendar to figure out what they're supposed to do next. We know some people that use that like a honey-do list and they just cross it off all day long. We know other people that see that there's a doctor's appointment on Thursday and don't know that today is Monday and end up getting up in the middle of the night to get ready for that doctor's appointment that isn't for several days yet. So sometimes it can be anxiety provoking, but that kind of depends on the needs of your family member.
And our last question, thank you very much. Our last question, and I'll turn it back over to Joanne. For a family, and this is a question I'm asking, for a family member that has a family in their home that has dementia, and they have dark carpet already in their house, what do you suggest for them? Should they change the carpeting? Because I know you were mentioned, and we learned that with the dark carpeting, sometimes they think it's a hole and they won't walk on it. How would a family member handle something like that?
Yeah, well, I would say if the whole carpet is dark, so let's say you
like
have dark brown carpet in your living room, like that's okay. But having like very patterned carpet, like like little kids when they don't want to step on the crack because they'll break their mother's back. And if the carpet has a whole lot of patterns on, a person might end up kind of walking funny to try to avoid those things. If there is something busy like that, and there's a way maybe to really secure like a solid colored runner or something like that through the room, to kind of bring order to the chaos that's in their brain, that might help them be able to get through the room more safely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to thank everybody for our questions, and I'm going to turn this over to Joanne Boyd.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, ladies. Another great session. I hope you that joined us. Thank you for spending your hour with us this evening. I hope you found it as informative as I have found it for these sessions. And I really encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to call in next week and get some of your questions answered. It's a free service, and you can call in and spend that time to maybe address some other issues that you might be facing. So again, on behalf of Gateway Medical Society and Pittsburgh Black Nurses in Action, we thank you for attending the webinar, and we hope you see you back at our final webinar on the 22nd of March. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.